What's going on, folks? So we're getting this party started. We're going to see what we can do. I want you to really pay attention to this one. What we're going to be covering in the next 2 days is, or not in the fourth quarter, is we're going to be hitting the rest of quadratics. Now, there's 14 chapters in quadratics, and I think we're on chapter 7. Chapter 7 and Chapter 8, we're going to take up most of our time. We'll probably spend a good 2 to 3 weeks on just Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. We might even spend 4 weeks. The rest of the chapters will go really quickly. But I really, really want to make sure you guys are all on the same page in these first two, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. They are huge. They are heavy hitters. There's a lot of material to cover in them. Chapter 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I promise you, will be smaller, shorter. I might even skip them completely. I might even skip some of them completely. But for the most part, this is super important. Got it? Do you guys know about square roots? Yes or no? And, by the way, just to let you know, I've gotten kicked out of my class 4 times in the last hour. So if my audio gets kicked out, I want you guys to tell me as soon as possible. I'm just going to log out, log back in, and we'll move on with our lives. It only takes a minute out of our times, but I need you to respond to me as much as possible. Laugh at my jokes. Say, oh man, Mr. Dalton, you're being so crazy. Do all of that kind of stuff. Because I need, and say yes or no, definitely, because I need you guys, I need to know that you guys can hear me. If I don't hear back from you and I ask you a question, you guys just stand there and no one say anything, it makes me feel like you guys couldn't hear me that whole time, and I started to get really worried. Got it? Okay, I literally just told everyone to respond to me, and I asked you if you got it, and only Kiana answered the first minute. So get on that, you guys. Come on. All right. So if I want to find the square root of 16, what is that? What's the square root of 16? Do you guys know how to do these square root things? 4. Very good. Awesome, Rainey. All right. Let's do the square root of 49. What's the square root of 49? 7. Awesome. If it's all right with you, I'm actually pretty good at these. I'm going to fill out the rest of them. Tell me if you guys disagree here. 6. 9 times 9 is 81, so that would be 9. This would be 8, and this would be 3. Are we cool? Not that hard, right? You guys got it? Awesome. Now, here's something that's a little bit more funky. If I were to say, okay, what is the square root of 81? That's 9, right? We're good with that. 9 times 9 is 81. But what is, if I told you that x squared is equal to 81? That would mean in order to get x all by itself, I would need to undo the square. How do you undo a square? How do you get rid of that squared power over there? I'm trying to solve for x here. Well, you use the square root. That's pretty straightforward, right? If I do the square root, that kind of takes off all of the stuff over here, and I'm left with just x. Everyone agree? So if I told you x squared is equal to 81, you would tell me, oh, then x must equal to 9. Because 9 squared is 81. Right? Good. Awesome. You guys are all wrong. You're only half correct. Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. I know. It's freaky. Listen to what I'm saying. If I told you x squared is equal to 81, you told me that the answer was 9, and I told you that's only one of the answers. There's another answer out there. What about x equals negative 9? Yeah, there we go, Rainey. Because if you think about it, Negative 9 times negative 9 is still 81. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Negative 9 times negative 9. Well, negative times a negative was a positive. The 9 times a 9 is 81. Boom, we got it. So, if I ask you the question in this way, and you have to take the square root of both sides, I don't want you to forget doing this. What we need to do is we need to throw in this thing called a plus or minus. So we'll have x equals plus or minus the square root of 81. And we know that the square root of 81 is 9. So x is equal to plus or minus 9. This is our answer. You guys got that? Yeah, we're on quad 7. We're going to be hitting quad 7 maybe for the rest of this week. I would even say for the rest of next week. It's a heavy chapter. Quad 8 is even more important. Quad 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13, 14, that's, that's just fine details. But these next two ones, I need you guys to stay on board, pay attention, really keep on these things, or else you guys are going to die in the process. Anyway, if I have x squared equals 81, my answer is 9 or negative 9. Are we cool with that? So what is the answer here? If x squared equals 100, what is x equal to? What are the two answers that I'm allowed x to be? (10) and negative 10. Very good. Because x is allowed to be 10 or it's allowed to be negative 10. And actually, instead of saying 10 and negative 10, you guys are right. You guys are more correct in saying the word or as opposed to and. And that's going to make a big, that does make a difference. X can be either 10 or it can be negative 10. Because negative 10 times negative 10 still gives you positive 100. Positive 10 times positive 10 also gives you positive 100. So there's two possibilities. Now, do you guys think that it's funky as to why there's two answers? Why are there two answers? Okay, well, let's do this. I'm going to ask you to solve this problem right here. I'm going to ask you to solve that problem right here. But first, before I solve this, I want to go back and think to myself, if I told you f of x equals x squared minus 4, and I asked you to graph that, you guys remember how to graph that thing? It's just a regular parabola, and what does that negative 4 do? It moves it down. Very good. Exactly. It moves it down. How many units does it move it down? You guys know what this graph is. It moves it down 4 units. Exactly. So I would have a regular parabola just move down 4. I could graph that pretty straightforward in my head. Like that, right? You just take your regular parabola, and apparently it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Way down here. Cool? Anyway, I want you to keep that in mind while I solve this thing. If I have x squared minus 4 equals 0, in order to get x all by itself, I would want to add 4 to both sides. So really what I'm dealing with is x squared equals 4. We good? Because this negative 4 here will cancel out with that positive 4 here. Now, in order to get rid of this square, I'm going to square root both sides. But when you square root both sides, don't forget the plus or minus. I'm going to toss in that plus or minus so that I can account for both of my answers. And this would be the square root of 4. So what is the result of the square rooting 4? Well, that's 2. So my answer is x is equal to both positive 2 and negative 2, right? Okay, good. That would be the answer to this problem. If I told you x squared minus 4 equals 0, you would tell me x is equal to positive or negative 2. But if you think about it, really what I'm asking you is when does this graph cross 0. When is this thing equal to 0? If you look at the graph, right here and right here. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, oh, I get it. Obviously there are two answers because we're dealing with parabolas. And parabolas can cross lines twice. They cross on the way down over here and on the way back up over here. Because they're parabolas. They're curvy lines. That's why it is possible to have two answers. Do you see this? Do you see what's going on here? Awesome. So let's do these practice problems. And I think these practice problems come straight from your homework. So anyway, x squared minus 361 equals 0. So x squared minus 361 equals 0. I'm going to add 361 to both sides. X squared equals 361 over here, because this thing cancels. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I need to make sure I throw in a plus or minus. Don't forget that. That plus or minus is really to account for those crossing twice. Does anyone have a calculator on them? I don't know what is the square root of 361 off the top of my head. I feel like it might be like 16 or something like that. Obviously, for this homework, you're going to be using a calculator. I don't mind using a calculator whatsoever. What is the square root of 361? What times what gives me 361? I feel like it might be like 18 or something like that. 19. Oh, there we go. All right. So x is equal to 19 or negative 19. Let me log out and log back in. Ugh. Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. Audio. All right, so that's one time and counting. Well, I got kicked out of the audio. Anyway, my question, all I was asking is, someone please use their calculator to figure out what the square root of 80 or 361 is, and they did, and they got 19. So my answer is both positive 19 and negative 19. If I plugged positive 19 into here, 19 times 19 minus 361 is equal to 361 minus 361, which is equal to 0. So good, because I wanted it equal to 0 in the first place. This also works if you plug negative 19 in there, because negative 19 times negative 19 is still positive 361, and you'll get this minus 361, and then you'll get 0 still. Got it? All right. Let's solve this one for x using our mad algebra skills. Okay? What I want to do is I want to get rid of that 12. It's kind of like an onion, and I'm peeling off the layers. I see this 3 as the closest layer. I see this negative 12 or minus 12 as an outer layer. In order to get to the x, in order to get to the middle, I want to peel off the outermost layer and then proceed to get to the closer layers. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides, and that will get rid of that 12 on that side of the equation. We cool? So I have 3x squared equals 12. Now what I'm going to do is I want to get rid of that 3. In order to get rid of the 3 is multiplying that x squared, so in order to get rid of it, I should divide by 3. So I should divide both sides by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. Got it? At this point, when I'm at this stage right here, I want to get rid of that square. So the square, in order to get rid of it, you take the square root. But whenever you take the square root of both sides, you need to remember to throw in that plus or minus. Remember, PM. I put the PM there because that kind of stands for the plus or minus. So the square root of 4 is 2. So actually my answer is plus or minus 2. Now at this point, what I would do if I were you is I would plug it back into my original equation and see if it worked. Let's try negative 2. If I plug negative 2 back into my original equation, I would have 3 times negative 2 squared minus 12 equals 0. Is that true? Okay. What is negative 2 squared? Come on, you guys. Rhymes with door. Starts with an F. 4. There we go. So really I have 3 times positive 4 minus 12 equals 0. Because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So really I have 12 minus 12 equals 0. Is that a true statement? Does 12 minus 12 indeed equal 0? Very good. Awesome. Now, just as a heads up, why don't we go over to Desmos? Let's talk about what this thing does really quick. That negative 12, what does that do? If I were to try to graph that in my head, what does that negative 12 do? It moves it down 12. Okay, obviously I'm dealing with a parabola that's moved down 12. Awesome. What does that 3 do? Do you remember? It makes it skinny. Very good. I like to think of it as making it vertically stretched, but skinny works too, for now. If I were to go over to Desmos, let's check it out. Desmos. And I were to plug that in. I've got my x squared. Okay. We're good with that. Whoa. Come on, Desmos. Alright, I've got my x squared. That's just a regular parabola. Minus 12 moves that thing down 12 units. And then I multiply it by 3, and that makes it skinnier. Good. I agree with everything you guys said. Look at where it crosses. What are the 2 points that it crosses? Negative 2 and 2. Plus or minus 2. That's why we got our answer of plus or minus 2. Does this make sense? Is this too hard for you, or you guys got it? Got it. Awesome. All right, let's see. Solving for that, I think we're good. Okay, here's a good one. This is a good one. This one looks tough. Let's talk about the answer real quick. What is this? What is the 81 doing to that graph? Let's talk about the graph, how this relates back to the graph. What does that 81 do to the graph? If I had a problem, can you hear me? Moves it down. Very good. And how far does it move it down? 81 units. Awesome. What does that negative 3 do to the graph? Do you guys remember this? This is moving the graphs around. That's all we're doing here. This is all quarter 3. It moves it to the right. Very good. I was half expecting most of you to say it moves it to the left, but remember, when we're moving things to the right or left, it does the opposite. That negative 3 actually moves it 3 units to the right, as opposed to moving it 3 units to the left. Got it? If I were to go back to Desmos, And I were to plug this equation back into my calculator. Let's see. All right. I got an x squared minus 81. Where does it cross the 0? At where and where? Positive 9 and negative 9. I agree with you. But I didn't move the graph to the right 3 units yet, right? I didn't do that yet. I need to add 3 to this number right here. And I need to add 3 to this number. So positive 9 plus 3 is going to be what? 12. Negative 9 plus 3 is going to be what? No, not negative 12. Yeah. All right. Negative 6. Awesome. You're right, and I actually didn't finish writing down my graph. Let's see. X minus 3 squared minus 81. And I agree with you. Look, it crosses at 12, and it crosses at negative 6. All right, now that you can see the graph in your head, I want you to keep that in mind when we actually solve this problem. Because the way the curriculum is presenting it to you, they didn't want you to do the graph thing, but I did want to relate that back to you. Let's just straight up solve this problem, okay? I see this like an onion. I see the middle of the onion. That's the treasure I want to get to. It's being guarded by the negative 3, the square, and the minus 18. I need to peel, or not 18, but 81. I need to peel off each piece like an onion. So let's get to the center, but we need to peel each layer off. To get rid of that 81, I'm going to add 81. So I have x minus 3 squared equals 81. I need to get rid of that square because that's on the outside of the parentheses. It's the middle layer, I suppose. Don't forget the plus or minus. Don't forget this thing right here. That's important. So I have plus or minus the square root of 81. Are we cool with that? Note that x minus 3 squared, and if I put a square root over that, that's just x minus 3. Are we good with that? Just like how x squared with the square root over it is x. Okay, all right. So x minus 3 equals to plus or minus 9, because the square root of 81 is 9. So really what I'm dealing with is two separate problems. I'm dealing with x minus 3 equals to positive 9, or x minus 3 equals to negative 9. That's what the plus or minus 9 part is. Both positive 9 and negative 9. Are we cool? Now I'm almost... Oh, I'm sorry, Rainey. I'll go put in the answer. I'll go fix that. I apologize. I'm almost at the home stretch. I want to get x all by itself. So simply, I need to add 3 to both sides. And I'll have x is equal to 12, or x is equal to negative 6. These are my two answers that I have. X equals positive 12, or x equals negative 6. And if you think about it, that's actually really cool. I'm waiting for someone to say, wow, that's cool. Because, remember how it relates back to the graph? That's exactly what we expected to see when we graph that thing. We ended up getting the answer. We can solve it algebraically, we can even solve it graphically. But this is essentially what we're doing. So all of that stuff I was teaching about how to graph something in your head is very relevant. What I would do is I would probably do it this way, personally, and then I would graph it in my head and think, does that answer seem reasonable? Does that seem like it should be the answer? So I would literally write things down, and then I would say, I wonder if that works. Got it? All right. Let's see. I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this one right here? Take out your pencil and paper and write this down. I'm just going to do the problem without following their directions. I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to do it quickly, so I want you to write every step down, but make sure you pay attention. Got it? All right. I'm going to add 48 to both sides. To get rid of that negative 48. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 3. I kind of see this like an onion. And here's my middle, and then here's the second thing I need to get rid of, here's the third thing I need to get rid of, here's the fourth thing, and here's the fifth thing I need to get rid of. So I kind of think of like, what's the closest layer and what are the outermost layers? The first outer layer is the 48. I got rid of that. The next layer is this 3. So I got rid of this thing right here. So I have x minus 2 squared equals 48 over 3. By the way, what is 48 divided by 3? I don't know it off. Actually, I can think of it. Don't tell me. Is it 10, 16? Is it 16? No, it's yeah, it's 16. Is it 16? Oh, yeah, it is. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that square, so I have x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 16. Darn, this is actually harder than I thought it would be. I don't know how to do this part in my head. The square root of 16, does anyone know what the square root of 16 is off the top of their head? Oh yeah, no, what am I thinking? Of course, it's 4. For some reason I was thinking it's not an easy answer. Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. Excuse me. Alright, so I have x minus 2 equals plus or minus 4. Now what I'm going to do is add 2 to both sides. So really I'm left with x is equal to 2 plus or minus 4. So I have 2 answers I have to check. I have to either check the plus version or the negative version. So I have x is equal to 2 plus 4, or x is equal to 2 minus 4. My answer for this is x is equal to 6, or x is equal to negative 2. We cool with that? And just to go over the graph with you as to what is happening here. This 48 drops the thing down 48 units. This negative 2 moves the graph to the right 2 units. And that 3 right there, that makes it vertically skinny. If I were to graph this, I would get this graph right here. See? It's moved down 48. It's moved to the right 2 units. And if I were to zoom in right here, yo, check, 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 1, 2. Can you hear me? Alright, so that was strike 1 and strike 2. I guess strike 3 is going to be out pretty soon. Anyway, what I was saying is this equation, we already talked about how it would move things around. Look, it's moved down 48 units right here. It is moved to the right 2 units, and then it's kind of scrunched up by 3. And if you look real close, this part's the part that's really cool. Where does it cross the x-axis? At what? Look at the graph. Come on. Read it from me right there. Good. At 6 and at -2. Exactly. And guess what our answers were? -6 and -2. So that's essentially what we're doing when we solve all of this math over here. Is really what we're doing is we're finding where this dang thing crosses the x-axis. Practice problems with square roots. Let's see. I already did that with you. We did transformations. You know what? I don't even know if I'm going to give you homework on these transformations part, but let's talk about it. Actually, I need to stop the video and start another one.